Before we start this week's video, I'd like to thank everyone for watching these videos so far, and please don't forget to comment, like and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a new video. We are very close to reaching 1,000 subscribers and I really would like to reach that goal by the end of the year. Can we do it? I know we can. Thank you all again for watching and enjoy the video. Welcome to Film Fu, where the cuts are as clear as the kicks. I'm Shifu Payne, and MMA is fun, isn't it?
You get to watch as athletes and practitioners from multiple different fighting styles clash to prove their abilities. An opportunity to see which martial arts are more practical or effective, or just see some people beat the gloves off each other.
So let's take a look at a film which epitomizes that concept by taking a look at Mortal... Oh.
Released in 1988, Bloodsport was directed by Newt Arnold and written by Sheldon Lettich, Christopher Cosby, and Mel Friedman. Starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Donald Gibb, Leah Aries, and holy shit, it's Bolo! Yeah, that muscle-bound guy from Enter the Dragon that killed John Saxon. Same guy! Bolo even quotes Bruce Lee here.
Very good. But Rick, not in back.
There's even a guy that looks like Bruce Lee that Bolo defeats within a few seconds of the match!
You cheeky bastard.
Well, that may not have been Bolo's fault, as this film is purported to be based on the life story of Frank W. Dux, with Dux consulting on this film and serving as a fight choreographer.
We'll break this down a bit more later, but suffice to say, this is less a true story and more a true story. So with that being said, let's take a look at the plot.
An American military captain, played by Van Damme, enters a high-risk martial arts tournament in Hong Kong in the hopes of honoring the legacy of his sensei. A journalist, played by Aries, hopes to write a story on the tournament and meets Dux, leading to a relationship. When Bolo's character puts Gibb into the hospital, Dux faces his foe to not only avenge his friend, but to win the tournament.
By that synopsis, you can kind of tell what kind of film this is. This is very by the numbers power fantasy. Watching this, I could swear that I was just watching Adult Karate Kid.
This film actually came out 4 years after Karate Kid, which was released in 1984. Although Bloodsport takes place in 1975 and is meant to be based on a true story, so...
Let's also take a look at the actual Frank Dux as well, just to add a bit more context.
Born in 1956 in Toronto, Canada, he and his family relocated to California when Dux was 7, and he met Sensei Tanaka, a martial arts master who taught Dux all he knew. Dux served in the United States military from 1975 to 1981, which is where he claimed to have served in the Southeast Asia and earned a Medal of Honor.
More on this later.
The events of this film took place in 1975, which apparently happened in the Bahamas but was changed to Hong Kong for the film.
You may be wondering which martial art Dux was trained in and practices. Well, it's ninjutsu.
We've discussed ninjutsu before, and the history around that is questionable to say the least. Basically, the modern form of ninjutsu has its roots in other martial arts in terms of its founder, but the story surrounding its formation can be interpreted as clout chasing, based on the then current trends.
That fact is kind of true of here as well, because the idea of Dux being trained by Tanaka is marred by the fact that he's not real. Or is he?
Dux claimed he lives under a false identity, which is why no one can find him. This sort of tactic is something Dux uses a lot, and trust me, we'll be talking about it a bit more later.
For now, let's quickly take a look at the fight scenes in this film.
I say quickly as there's not much to gather from this film. Most of the techniques present here are either basic or dubious, with any technical abilities being repeated continually. I'm not saying this is due to Van Damme's lack of ability, because he is a great martial artist, having certifications from multiple martial arts. A lot of the techniques displayed are very clean, and his physique alone attests to how hard he worked.
What I'm saying is that there's very little variety. In total, there are 8 different kinds of kicks in this scene, displayed by both Van Damme and Bolo.
The side kick, the roundhouse kick, the hook kick, jump side kick, front kick, the split kick, the jump split kick, and the back kick.
With 2 of those being just variations of the same kick.
No, obviously, there's no rule saying this is wrong. There's nothing wrong with repetition. It aids to help the viewer remember the action. Plus, many fighters are renowned for having certain techniques or strategies. My problem is that these are mostly basic techniques.
But Shifu, didn't Bruce Lee say that it's better to practice one kick 1,000 times rather than 1,000 kicks just the once? Yes, he did say that, but we're not talking about Bruce Lee here. We're talking about Frank Dux.
This tournament was supposedly hosting the creme de la creme, the best and most renowned fighters, with Bolo's character being the winner of multiple tournaments. And you're telling me that he is defeated by using basic kicks repeatedly? The one kick I'll really highlight for ability is the spinning jump split kick, but that is marred by it being used multiple times. It breaks the suspension of disbelief because a competent martial artist such as Bolo would be able to anticipate such repetition and counter it.
And that's when we reach the problem here. This film is a power fantasy, plain and simple.
Frank Dux worked on this film as a stunt coordinator and served as Van Damme's personal trainer during production. It's not uncommon for public figures to consult on films or serials about them, but for Dux to work so tightly on the film does seem suspect, especially when considering the rest of Dux' history. First of all, the part about Frank Dux receiving a katana or any sort of sword as the prize for the event needs to be considered with a grain of salt, as the sword itself has never been seen. According to Dux, he did have it, but sold it in a failed attempt to buy the freedom of orphan children from some Filipino pirates. Dux also claimed to have received a Medal of Honor following his service in the military and his deployment in the southeast of Asia. The problem there being that Dux was never deployed there according to military records released in the Freedom of Information Act. Furthermore, the only record of an injury sustained by Dux was of him falling off a truck while painting it in the vehicle depot. Dux was also given a psychiatric evaluation which determined him to be flighty and disconnected, which certainly is a dangerous mindset to have in active combat. Oh, and that medal he earned, when shown a picture of him in uniform with said medal, experts commented on it not being the correct one for his division, and when questioned, Dux would either say it was a mistake he tried to have corrected, or later said it was a Halloween costume.
The psychiatric evaluation also accounts for a lot of Dux' claims being just that. Claims.
There's never any tangible evidence for any of it happening. The before-mentioned sword is a good example, but another is how Dux owned a martial arts trophy that he bought himself. With the shop owner having a copy of the receipt to support this, Dux always called the receipt a forgery, but there is never evidence of that. Anytime Dux told a story, there was always a lack of evidence, which added to the mystery of his persona.
Some pieces are beginning to fit together, because with that in mind, let's take another look at this film.
A military captain leaves active service with little to no consequences. Okay, they try to bring it back, but eventually come around and Dux is never reprimanded or court-martialed. He gains a girlfriend who's afraid of the repercussions, but comes around eventually and supports him. He's lauded as the first Westerner to win the match and break a few world records. And he fights a comically evil antagonist that cheats to win, making Dux overall look wiser, morally righteous, and superhuman compared to those around him.
Okay, so what's the problem here? Guy's just living out his own power fantasy, telling incredible stories about himself, making himself look big, and basically wanking himself off. What's the problem here? Who's he hurting? Well, I'll tell you who he's hurting. He has a school.
Dux opened his own school in California and began his own branch of ninjutsu known as Dux Ryu Ninjutsu.
Subtle.
He also has written several articles for a martial arts magazine called Black Belt Magazine, specifically writing articles for the September and October issues of 1980, which included lessons on knife fighting and claiming to have been decorated for his knife skills in the southeast of Asia, which, as we've already established, he never went to. He does also say that he has certifications from more martial arts, including Taekwondo, which is still dubious due to the time this was said, when it was easier to buy a black belt from a sports shop and say you earned it. If we go back to the action shown in the film, they're basic techniques and can be found in multiple martial arts. The roundhouse, for example, can be found in Taekwondo, Muay Thai, Karate, and kickboxing, probably due to its simplicity. I mean, a brushstroke is a brushstroke no matter where you learn to paint. Now obviously, I can't account for what he teaches at his school. I've not gone to every lesson. But if he is teaching Taekwondo and properly passing on said knowledge effectively, I don't have a problem. But knife fighting is very different, because if something is not pressure tested and is stated to work, someone will try these techniques while being mugged or threatened and either get hurt or get killed.
This is why it's so damaging, because the world of martial arts has very little testing or very little legislation. On one hand, this is a very good thing, because it allows for a lot of creativity and a lot of deviation. Whole branches of martial arts all segmenting off of each other, And it can be argued that martial arts is an art form, and how do you really legislate an art form without it turning Orwellian?
But on the other hand, it is easy for frauds or con artists to come along, purport to know an ancient form of fighting that is super effective, really strong, and costs $4.99 per lesson. While these people profit, their students are conned into learning stuff that will get them killed if they try it, and with their time and money lost. There is some legislation or protection in place currently, however, as at least in the UK, you need a license from your martial arts commission to open a school or teach, while in the US, a state license is required, preventing some con artists from getting through, but not all. And some of these people can teach established or well-regarded martial arts, or claim to, but actually peddle the unsubstantiated dribble without any real repercussion.
That's why I come to the same conclusion I have given before and will probably give again. That is, to pressure test whatever it is you are taught in the dojo. Be sure to scrutinize and test everything that you are taught by your teachers and not take it all as gospel. Doing this process may even be more educational than what you're taught in class, especially in those cases of martial arts which claim to be more effective or more grounded.
No such thing as student only by the teacher. Teacher says, student do.
Thank you all for watching this week's video, and until next time everyone, peace be with you.